Welcome to the Best Team Wins podcast with Adam Robinson. He's talking to today's industry leaders and entrepreneurs about the people side of their business.
Welcome to the Best Team Wins podcast, where we feature entrepreneurs and business leaders whose exceptional approach to the people side of their business has led to incredible results. My name is Adam Robinson, and for the next 25 minutes, I'll be your host as we explore how to build your business through better hiring. Today on the program, we have Dave Juarez, who is Hireology's very own sales manager, located here in Chicago. He helps us manage a pretty large group of sales individuals. Of course, we've got, at this point, just under 180 employees here and continue to grow pretty quickly. And so I thought having Dave on the program to talk about how he is building and leading our sales organization here would be a great addition to the show. So, Dave, excited to learn from you today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. So, some fun facts. Dave joined the Hireology team in February and has already made about 30 sales hires here.
Yep.
So getting after it, and has helped us achieve the growth we've achieved this year. And so thank you for all that you're doing here. But I want to focus today on how you're helping build the sales org here. But before we do that, I want to set the stage. First question, just so folks have context. Tell us a little bit about your background and why you chose to join us here.
Sure. So out of school, I was actually a stock and commodities broker for about a year and a half. I had a finance degree. I thought that was the way to go and the way I was going to stay forever, and realized that I was successful at my role because of sales, not because a 22-year-old reinvented the wheel about how financial markets work. So decided to really go down the sales route and went to Groupon for about 3 years. And after that, I went to Paycom Payroll, and then my last stint was at Career Builder for just shy of 6 years, and came over to Hireology. So I think the reason why I chose Hireology was kind of twofold. It was a unique opportunity for me to have kind of a second iteration of a unique experience. So at Groupon, when I started there, I was, one of the first few hundred employees. We were still launching big cities, and people were hanging up thinking I was saying coupon and not Groupon. When I came into Hireology and I got the look and feel of the company, the hyper growth, the energy, it had that same look and feel that Groupon did right before that big hockey stick growth. Mm-hmm. And to be able to experience it as a sales rep, as I did, 8 years ago, and to now have the opportunity to do it again as a leader, was just a really unique experience and opportunity that I didn't want to pass up. And the other was just the people. I knew Max Lowenbaum, the VP of sales here at Hireology, and in every single interview that I went through with you and with Peter and Julie, our CFO and COO, I was just really wowed. And I kind of live by the adage of, if you're the smartest guy in the room, find another room. And when I met everyone here, I realized, I found my room, because I am no longer one of the smarter guys in the room at this point.
Yeah, not exactly the case, but I appreciate the humility. So let's talk about the team you're building here. You've got a solid approach to vetting talent here, but that this isn't the first time you've done this.
Right.
So go back to when you first started hiring. Do you remember the first hire you made as a first-time manager? Take us through that to the extent you can share details.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember it really clearly because my first hire was actually the person I endorsed to take my role when I left Career Builder, and then ended up getting the role and is currently running my old team. I remember it was kind of a perfect storm if you were the interviewee. Mm-hmm. She was stepping into an interview where I took the team over the day before our interview. So all the rapport that she had built with my predecessor was out the window. She had to start from scratch. It was the final stage, which is where you're actually pitching. And the TV didn't work at first, so there was technical issues. Then once we got the TV working, her deck wouldn't load. And then when the deck finally started loading, it was glitching, and it just all kind of went down the toilet. So she reacted really quickly, though, and she said, "You know what? Never mind. Here, let me just put it on my screen." And without notes, because she lost the presenter view, she was able to go through her full pitch, and she didn't let it rattle her whatsoever. And I was just thoroughly impressed at how quickly she adapted to that. And, it was an easy hire for me. It was a really easy first hire, and it was, to date, one of the best hires I ever made.
So how is your experience in both in being a sales professional and in being a hiring manager informed your approach here?
Yeah, I think from a direct contributor role, I've been a part of a lot of interviews and have kind of run the gauntlet. And what I've seen and what changed my approach is a lot of times I found I was running the same interview, but with just different managers, with hiring managers, even at the same company. And what I realized and how I changed my approach here was that, we do a really good job of having managers gauge different aspects of a candidate, whether it's their skill set, whether it's their personality traits, and so on and so forth. And I think about it, as an athlete at the NFL Combine, they don't just make you run the 47 times and say, okay, yeah, he's going to be good. They have you run a whole bunch of different battery of tests and figure out full scope. Is this somebody we want to hire? And I think my approach has changed from being very singular and looking for sales skill set to now thinking more full scope.
So take us through your hiring process.
Mm-hmm.
What steps do you take that listeners can learn from, because it's been pretty successful for you here?
Sure. So I always want to start off by giving a clear understanding of the role, the responsibilities, expectations, and ask the candidate, if you were to start tomorrow at Hireology, what's one skill set that you would want your new manager to help you develop right away? And it's not necessary. It's kind of a tweak on the, what are your weaknesses, typical question, because it doesn't have to be a weakness. It can be something they're really good at, but that they know, hey, selling software into the people side of the business, I need to be very good at X. I need to be good at this piece of it. And it helps me understand, do they understand the role and the responsibilities, and are they self-aware? And usually that question dictates where the interview is going to go from that point, because we get into stories where if they want to work on negotiations, then we're talking about past experience with negotiations. We're talking about, their strengths in that piece and how they have positioned it before. So I like starting with that question and really kind of letting the conversation navigate itself.
Okay. Do you have a particularly favorite pointed question you like to ask?
The one I like to ask is, Hireology, we have a lot of different competitors out there, depending on which aspect of our platform you're talking about. And I don't expect you to be able to say the differentiators of Hireology. However, you are competing with a bunch of different people for this role. So what is your differentiator, or what should make me want to buy from you?
What are you listening for?
Confidence more than anything. The answer can go a lot of different ways, but I'm looking for somebody who genuinely believes what they're about to sell me. Because I think that, if you're talking about differentiators of a product, you have to believe in the product, and it gets conveyed when you do believe it. And if somebody's talking about their work ethic, but they're kind of droning on, or they trail off, if they're confident in what they're saying, that's what I'm really looking for.
Do you find that there's a particular quality of a sales hire here or anywhere, just generally, that makes them more likely to be successful? And if so, what is that thing?
Yeah, I think, in sales, the work ethic and all that is obviously going to play a big part. But I think reps who are genuinely inquisitive tend to be the most successful. That's the difference between a good and a great rep. Because people who are genuinely inquisitive are going to ask that second and third and fourth layer question, and are going to come off as genuine, though, and not as, I'm trying to ask you questions to lead you to where I want you to go. It comes off as interesting. Oh, well, so why do you do it that way? And so what you're telling me is that this is what really matters, and this is what the pain that you're telling me about. And it becomes, very unguarded, and people feel like they're just speaking to their friend about a tough day at the office, as opposed to speaking to a salesperson about something that they might have to pay money for.
Is there a particular competency that you look for? So underlying the skill, perhaps in the mindset, is there a type of person that you think is more successful than others?
Like soft skills, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people who understand the focus and the prioritization that comes with sales. Sales is one of those unique opportunities where there are a ton of factors, but ultimately you are paid on how hard you are working in a given day. And not a lot of professions do that. So a big piece of sales is prioritization, and where should I be focusing my time? Where should I be, trying to segment my business and understanding my book? And I really look for people that can break down that side of the business, whether they've done it before or how would they approach it coming in here. Because as a leader, that is a big piece of what I'm doing and what I try to help reps with, but the onus is on them to be able to do that too.
We've got a number of open roles right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've hired 30 people. You've probably done I'm sure you've counted 200 interviews or more.
Yeah, I think it was like 77 in like a 2-month span or something.
Yeah,
like
that's crazy. So we're growing rapidly, and I've certainly been in the place where I've just got so many open roles that I just want to move faster.
Yeah.
But of course you can't do that. You can't really cut corners. How are you ensuring that we maintain quality in the process, without bogging down and getting, less than where we need to go?
Yeah. It's a tough balance, to be honest, just because it is a tall order in terms of our growth goals and how many people we're hiring. I think a big piece of it is, one is mindset, and not cutting corners, and not just saying this person's good enough, and not looking for the right now hire, but for the right hire. And a lot of that is just going into and accepting, I'm going to run 77 interviews in 2 months, but I'm going to find that one person or those two people that really are going to be a fit and be a big value add. I think the other piece is just trusting the process that you have in your hiring process. I know that when I go in and I run an interview and score the interview, that one of my, counterparts, one of the other managers who are going in, if I'm on the fence or whatever it might be, I know that the process is in place, and if they like them, great, that's somebody we should move forward with. So really having that defined process and trusting that it's going to work helps a ton.
Hiring the right person's half the equation. You've got to then onboard and launch a whole bunch of new reps.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you approach that.
Yeah. I think a big piece is infrastructure. If you're reinventing the wheel every time, you're going to lose your mind and you're going to lose a lot of time. So having as much infrastructure built in terms of the expectations and the quantitative metrics you're going to be holding people accountable to, having it clearly defined, and also giving them the ability to empower themselves. So,
give us a few examples.
Sure. So, I have a document, for example, for all my business development reps, where on the first day after training, and once they've drank from the fire hose and had all the Hireology Kool-Aid, we sit down and we talk about metrics and expectations for that first month in terms of dials, connects, conversations they're having, sets that they're going to make. And I give them kind of a rough outline of what we generally want to see, and we segment it out week by week, and I want them to select what they want to do every single week. What's a good week? And the second side of that, so that's the activity piece. The second side is I also have them pick a skill set they want to develop. So a couple of them I'm working on with negotiation, building a business case, objection handling. It just depends on the rep. And we come up with a development plan. And every week we meet and have a session based on that development plan. So within their first week, they have a firm idea of what are my goals, my expectations, and where are we tracking it for the first month. And also over the next 6 months, where am I really looking to develop, and what is Dave going to help me with in each session?
Some of the most common questions I get from our audience in this show is, how do I have tough conversations, coaching conversations with new hires, particularly in sales?
Yeah.
The success rate for sales hires is 50%, kind of best case. And so how do you recommend managers listening to this show now coach performers who are on the bubble? So, is there an approach you take that can get someone who's not going to make it over the hump to where it looks like they might actually make it? And what's the ingredient there that's often missing?
Yeah, I think the ingredient is sustained transparency. So not just transparency, but since day one, you have to be providing feedback, and you have to be willing to get feedback as well. But if you're waiting to provide feedback until you're a weekly one-on-one, or until you sit during that call block and then you hammer them with feedback, it feels like you're being attacked. And I think that
as the rep.
Yeah. And I think as a rep who may be in that scenario on a bubble where, it can go either way at this point, if you're just giving them feedback of here's what you need to do to be able to pull this through and to be successful in this role, again, it turns into I'm going to lose my job or I'm really worried. But if you've been doing that and you've been helping them out and they feel that you're there as a support metric as opposed to somebody who's really breathing down their neck, I think it's those reps who are willing to go that extra mile because they know that you're in it with them and you're willing to, you're not asking them to run through the wall. You're saying, we're running through that wall. Come with me. And you go run through it.
Then, so that when it doesn't get there, I mean, what's your philosophy around a little tougher coaching? When it is to the point where it's, this may not be for you. Talk to us about your approach to helping coach people up or out when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think a big piece of it is understanding what they're interested in, and if it depends on why they're failing, but if it is something as simple as the activity side of it, or being able to just bridge that gap, I think it's really important just to be extremely clear and kind of also, I always call it the state of the union. So kind of lay out, here's where we started. Here's what has happened since then. We're not hitting these specific metrics. We did this to adjust and that's not working, or you're not hitting these metrics still. Where are we going? Like, where are you at? Where's your mindset at? And usually when you walk people through the state of the union, they get it. And they're looking at it saying, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know if this is for me. Maybe I should be doing something else. And now you're, again, coaching them into a different direction as opposed to having to make it seem so confrontational.
In your experience, do people talk themselves into leaving?
Yeah. A lot of times when you give them the lay of the land, you do see, unfortunately, it is a light bulb, but sometimes you do see that light bulb turn of, yeah, maybe this isn't for me. And if the light bulb changes a different way, it's typically, you know what, you're right. I got to do something different. Like this is my last stand. Here's my Alamo, and here's what I'm going to do. And it's going to go one way or the other. And if they don't succeed at that point, then at least they've given it their all. And, it has been something you've been helping them with.
Okay. What's your philosophy around rewards and recognition in sales? I mean, it's a profession where your W-2 tells you what kind of year you had, right? If you had a good year, it shows up in the paycheck. But keeping great salespeople is about more than just money.
Yeah.
What are some things you do to keep things fresh, particularly, with for anyone listening who is running an inside sales operation, where every day kind of looks the same if you let it.
Yeah.
How do you keep it fresh?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. It's the Bill Murray groundhog effect.
Right.
That happens. I think it's a combination of, again, sustained energy that you have to bring through. If you come in and you want to do a random contest, or it's you're always low energy, the team's low energy, and then you come in with this grand idea that you think you have, it comes off hokey.
Back from a conference with this great idea.
Yeah, exactly. It comes off hokey, and it usually doesn't pull through. But if you're always high energy and you're always bringing it, naturally people are going to try to get to your level. In terms of rewards, I usually am trying to leave reps feeling like they are controlling their destiny. And my quote to them is always, your hands are on the wheel. This is your business, run your business. And I want to instill trust in them. And, over time, whether it's about discounts or the term of contracts or travel or PTO, whatever a rep may come to me with questions, if they're building a sustainable book of business, I'll give them the same answer I always give everyone who's doing it, which is, I trust you to run your business. Mm-hmm. And they're like, great. And they move on. And, that then brings a different energy, because now they're coming in every day feeling like they're owning their own business. And it's not the quote unquote sales is running your own business, but then all of a sudden you have a manager coming down on you.
Right.
This is truly running your own business. And I pepper in, contests and things just to make sure it is still fun. But more than anything, I think that long-term effect is really what I'm going for. And things like, I've done a contest. It's always team related. I'm never looking for the top 2 people who do something. It's always, if the team hits this, we will go, we went on a tacos and tequila bar crawl before. And reps were running around, cheering each other on. There was, it was really, really high energy. I also do, I work for you. So anyone that is over 100% to quota the following month, every week I will dedicate 1 hour of my time to whatever they want me to do. So I will cold call into their book. I will build a deck for them. I'll do whatever grunt work that they don't want to do. I'll handle that for every 1 hour a week, every week for anyone that's over 100%.
That's great. What would you say is the greatest lesson learned so far about hiring and building a sales organization?
I think it's twofold. I think the biggest one, and we kind of touched on this, is looking for the right person and not the right now person. The easiest way to cripple a sales force is by hiring a bunch of average people. You need to have those superstars. You need to have people that not only can contribute to the business, but push the current superstars that you already have. If you aren't always looking for a better salesperson, then you're crazy. Those hires naturally and intrinsically breed a better sales force. I think the other piece of it, and I really realized it when I came to Hireology, was if I take a step back and I put myself in the listener's shoes as a business owner, I've realized that the system right now is broken in that customers are asked for by big job boards to buy and pay for candidates every single time they have a need for someone. And the analogy I always use is if you're making dinner, the first thing you do when you make dinner is you go to the cupboard and you see, what do I have here? Do I have some proteins? Do I have some vegetables? What do I have? And whatever I don't have, then I go shopping and I go to the store and I pick up anything I'd need, and then I make my dinner. Job boards, it's the opposite right now. The whole system and the way people are hiring and the way people are recruiting is every time I have a position open, I go spend money to try to find people. And you end up repaying for candidates. Go back to the cupboard. You already had flour. There's no need to go buy flour at the store anymore. And I've realized that the way that people are recruiting and the way that people are hiring right now is starting to change. And I think that we're trying to be a part of that change. But it's just really important for business owners to go back to the well. Don't reinvent the wheel every time. Start, finding those quality candidates that 6 months ago it wasn't a good time, and start there, and then start looking for your good people.
Is there a particular part of your skill set as a manager that you want to improve on or focus on over the next year?
Yeah. There's a ton that I think I have room for improvement. I would say my biggest developmental piece that I've actually talked with my director about is being able to lead at mass. I think I have right now 18 direct reports, so there is a little bit of mass.
Little mass,
yeah. But I want to be able to take myself away from the tactical side, because I've been a direct contributor for so long. I have the tendency to get very tactical and think about tunnel vision. How do I help move the ball down the field with this specific deal? And I think as a business grows, and as you're a leader in a growing business, you need to start working on removing yourself and thinking more big picture and leading at mass. Because if you're successful, that's where the business is going, right? And you can't be on every call anymore.
Yeah, and it's the difference between are we doing what we need to do to win this deal, and stepping back and looking at the system and saying, is this working?
Right.
And what did we need to rewire potentially?
Right. And did I help pull this deal through that was 1% of our monthly quota versus spend that time strategically working on this other opportunity that could be 80% of our monthly quota. And it's just about making sure that you're spending the time in the right places.
What book is on the nightstand right now?
There's two. So my short attention span doesn't allow me to read just one book. I usually have to bounce back and forth. So I usually try to balance it by doing one sales or one self-improvement book, and then one just for me. So the two I have right now is The One Thing from the sales side, which I love because I'm scatterbrained, and that has helped me really focus, especially with as many direct reports as I have. And the other is the Nick Offerman the biography, Paddle Your Own Canoe. Yeah.
That's great. All right, good. If you were coming back on this show a year from now and were telling us whether or not you were able to successfully execute the most important thing on your plate right now as it
Yeah.
relates to the people side of your operation? What would you be telling us happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think because of our big hiring initiative, it's the balance that all hyper-growth companies go through, which is adding a ton of headcount while keeping the DNA of the company the same. And I think we're doing a really great job at that balance. I think that the job's far from over and we still have a long way to go. And in a year, I'd be interested to see, did we keep the DNA? Did we stay too close to trying to keep the DNA? Should we have shifted because we are a changing company? And did we need to be adding a little bit different in? And time will tell on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the final word. You've been learning from Dave Juarez, sales manager here at Hireology. Dave, thanks for being with us on the program.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap for this week's episode of the Best Team Wins podcast, where we're featuring entrepreneurs and business leaders whose exceptional approach to the people side of their business has led to incredible results. My name is Adam Robinson, author of the book, The Best Team Wins, which you can find online at www.thebestteamwins.com. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you here next week.
Thanks for listening to the Best Team Wins podcast with Adam Robinson. You can find out more information about Adam and his book, The Best Team Wins, Building Your Business Through Predictive Hiring, at thebestteamwins.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.